Hello, everyone. It is April 28th, maybe? April 28th, 2:37 p.m. Just something I want to throw out there real quick. If you spend a significant amount of time on the internet, you may have begun to realize this. I first started noticing this a while back. Maybe I would say even 6 months to a year ago. Maybe during the lockdown, maybe even before them. Not really sure. But whenever Google was switching out their algorithms and things like this, the internet is shrinking. So to me, it appears that we were lured into a trap. We were lured onto the internet. We have, in a lot of ways, everything's on the internet. Our books, all our resources, all our information, our directions as far as maps and things like that are concerned, our news, everything comes through the internet. And so at first this was pretty cool because there was this big wild west of the internet out there and you could pretty much find out anything you want. Well, that's no longer the case. And I'm telling you this as a professional investigator. I do this for a living. I do internet research for a living. I do a lot of open source intelligence. I'm trained in that. I'm certified in that. And I can tell you the internet is shrinking. What do I mean by that? Like, for example, it doesn't even matter at this point which search engine you use, whether it's Google or Bing or Brave even, or what's DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo used to be pretty good. No, now they're pretty much all pulling the same information. So you'll Google something and it'll say that there's, hundreds or thousands of results. But when you actually scroll through, it's really only results from a couple different, a couple sources. And normally these sources are, the official narrative with maybe a few opposing views thrown in there. But it's heavily censored. And so I just want to throw out there that things that I have begun doing myself. First of all, I'll still use audio, Audible and things like this. I don't use Kindle all that much, but for books, I'll use Audible. And if I find I like the book or it's informative, then I will buy the hard copy. So original sources, hard copies of original sources are now a must. It's just too easy to change things. It's too easy to delete things with whatever is going on. And so any kinds of information, prophecy information or writings on the saints, I highly recommend finding the original source and either printing that off the internet or buying a book if there is one, or buying the original writings. Sometimes this is hard for us because there's a translation issue and things like that, but buy the original sources if you can. I've begun to do that a lot. Also, in any kind of information that you rely on, whether that's gardening information, whatever you find yourself looking up in a day, if you're even able to find it at this point, print it off and make binders. So I have binders for gardening. I have binders for prayers. I have binders for everything because I've just started collecting sources, finding the most reputable source or tips or whatever that I can come up with on the internet and printing that off. Any kind of laws I find that I might need or something like that, I print it off. So yeah, I guess that's really what I wanted to get at. It's like we've been lured with knowledge, lured by the fruit of knowledge here into knowing good from evil, right? Yeah. Lured into this digital realm. And now they are totally suppressing, removing information so that we have become it's like, it was like a bait and switch. Like as soon as we became dependent on the internet, they started shrinking it with their algorithms. It's wild. So maps are another good one. Try to keep get updated hard copies of maps, things like that. I mean, if you know your area well enough, then that's awesome. But the way the information world is going, it's imperative that we start collecting resources for the younger generations. And I'm just going to leave it at that. It's not even debatable anymore. It's not look at China. Look at what they do in China and North Korea, and consider the fact that that could very well be worldwide at some point in the future. And so we need to really start collecting these resources for our own knowledge, our own spiritual growth, our own physical needs, and also of that of our children and the children after them. Original copies, original texts, hard copies of everything, news. Get the newspaper again. Finds a online. There's some, cool Catholic. I think the Remnant has their own newspaper they send out. Newsletters, things like this, because it's wild. I've been in business for myself now. I've been an investigator for 5 years. I've been in business for myself since 2017. And I have noticed a drastic difference just in that short amount of time. So that's all I got. Joan of Arc Media out.